overview again and then go to some architecture. So I will very quickly go to the architecture, okay? But just to make sure if you send this to others that they understand what we are coming from, right?
Great.
So we're building a new internet. We have a history, fine. We sold some companies who were always busy with storage, networking, automation in the old world. Today, let's call it the new world. And we want to do something with all the technology we built. But let me go to the meat right away. I don't have to explain that the internet is kind of broken, that there is backdoors, issues with encryption, firewalls, 5G will really break things badly. So there's a lot of stuff happening which potentially will let the internet stop to be a free place. Internet owned by very few companies, but that you know, of course, less than 20 cloud vendors have more than 80% of the capacity. And it's also very bad for the planet. Today, it's already up to 10% of the world's electricity. And this still needs to grow a couple of times. So we came up with a new way how to do the internet. And basically, we have three pillars. One is sovereignty, equality, and sustainability. Sovereignty has to do with, rather than being the rebels and going against countries, we're talking with them. And we want to help them to create their internet in their own area. And of course, we also want to give freedom and data sovereignty to use it themselves. If a country is not benevolent and they don't want to do it, you guys still hear me? Because I see.
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I think you lost me for a sec, right?
No, you were clear.
God damn it, what's happening on the internet? Okay.
Oh, it's the NSA. They're just screwing with you.
Well, your upload is totally fine. So you can keep going with your upload. So you can keep talking and we're getting it crystal. So you're fine. Well, I say that and then I'll actually.
Damn, what's happening with my internet today? You were saying the internet is not working and it kind of always working.
They're selling their point right
There you go.
Okay, I have if it happens again, then I'll switch over to 4G. I hope that still works. Anyhow, so sovereignty, equality, sustainability. Sustainability, we can literally save up to 1,000 times in energy. For storage, 10 times. For blockchain, about 100 times. I blockchain when it's for storage. And if we go to what I need to explain, our tree bot, we can literally save 1,000, 10,000 times in energy.
Oh.
Equality is about giving everyone equal chances. So everyone needs to have access to information, education, a new type of apps, digital currencies, you know, all of that. And then, of course, sovereignty, we talked about it maybe before my internet collapsed. That's about making sure we own our data. So how does it work? What is the architecture? We have two parts. One part, the left, is basically the tree node. The tree node, we reinvented an operating system. It's called ZeroOS. It's open source. We've rebuilt everything. We took a Linux kernel, but everything else we've redone. So we have our own like scheduler for workloads, container stuff, file system, virtual file system, virtual file system, virtual disk, storage layer. I mean, name it. We had to redo everything. The operating system has no RPC interface, so no remote procedure call interface. You cannot get to it. It does not have a shell. So basically humans cannot deal with it. It's also a stateless operating system. It does not, you don't install files on it, but I need to explain how that works. Now this tree node gets connected to this new internet. Well, it can be the existing cables. We can also do peer-to-peer. Basically you plug the box into a power outlet, you plug it into the internet, and it becomes a generator of IT capacity. IT capacity, compute, storage, networking, load balancing, everything you would need to run any workload. So that's the box. I'll explain a little bit later how the box works because that we didn't talk about yesterday. At the right side, you have the TreeBot, which is the digital creature on top. And that's really why we personally are doing it. The TreeBot is your digital twin. It basically represents you. It has all your data, everything you need. It can be petabytes big or it can be small. It's very optimized. It's a blockchain by itself. So every TreeBot by itself runs its own, what we call blockchain database. It's a very specific type of blockchain made for storing data very efficiently. It's very efficient in how it allows you to search and how it stores data and how basically it can deal with your digital life. All of these 3 bots live independently on that network, and that way we create a true peer-to-peer network of people, of digital identities, which all talk to each other and which are there 24 hours a day. Now, we could never make this 3 bot safe unless we would have this self-healing capacity, self-healing network of capacity, which are all of these 3 nodes together. I'll show you the architecture in a sec, but basically it's modeled to nature. You can think about it like a human body. It's like the boxes, that's the energy, that's the raw capacity, compute, storage, networking, and so on capacity. At the right side are the cells. They're the individual creatures, digital creatures, all living their own life, storing their own data, being intelligent by themselves. They can communicate to each other in a full peer-to-peer mesh. There is no centralization in this design, nothing, zero. So this is today, people, even blockchain is way too centralized today. Try and cut an internet cable from a country, you will see what happens. Actually, everything will just stop because everything is too centralized today, starting with DNS and with so many other things we all rely upon. So things would just stop functioning today. It cannot go on. Now, in our world, that wouldn't be the case. We want to go from a centralized data center design, which is the left side, which is all about lock-in, complexity, non-transparent business practices. Like Amazon as an example, you buy storage and at the end you pay 3 times more because you were using their network. It's like, how did that happen, right? That's kind of just how they do it. So it's very non-transparent. At the right side, it's different. You are the center of your own digital world and you can basically put any application around you. I showed a demo yesterday, which shows how we already use this to show off to a country where we can be the alternative to a Google Docs with like a Gmail and Office and all of these things. It's very cost effective. And then I go to the architecture. For storage, to give you an idea, 1 terabyte of storage, netto usable, completely distributed, very highly redundant and secure, would cost $1 to $2 for a farmer to create. So farmer are the people in our ecosystem. They connect boxes to the internet, the new peer-to-peer internet or the existing one. And then, yeah, because of our technology, it becomes really, really efficient. So for storage, our cost price for generation is $1 to $2. For compute, a 4 gigabyte machine with 2 virtual CPUs is about $2 to $5, to give you an idea. Actually, I've seen in the new ones, it's even cheaper. So the technology has 3 pieces. It has our own operating system that has been the bulk of the work we've done. And that's literally the result of more than 15, 20 years of working and trying things out and failing and trying again and failing. Many failures and many successes. But basically we came up with a system which is very low level, which is very close to the hardware. The main thing it does for the people on the call who are more technical, we're avoiding context switches. That's one of the main things we do. We are very close to the hardware. So wherever we can, we will use the instruction sets and CPUs and of network cards. And actually there's much more in hardware than people realize. And that allows us to be much more efficient because most systems out there are frankly just dumb. There are many layers on top of each other, and every layer you put on top of the other layer creates a lot of overhead and context switches. Mainly context switches. Context switches is something people don't realize, but today most of the machines in data centers, for 90% of their time, they're just doing context switches, which is really ridiculous. Context switching basically means you have many cores, and every core can only work on one thing at the same time. So for every time it needs to context switch, so between an application, if an application needs time, it needs to put something in the CPU, it needs to put it back out of the CPU. They call this a context switch. It's very heavy. And that's why, as an example, a pure IO-driven application like a database still needs a lot of CPU because of these context switches. Now, if you work with data algorithms and with algorithms in a different way and you avoid layers, you can hugely minimize the amount of context switches, and as a result, you can use the hardware much better. So that's one of the things we do. It's a combination of these things, other algorithms, context switching, working with hardware much better, and some other tricks. We can really save a lot of energy. For storage, it's literally 10 times. So our biggest archive is in Switzerland, 50 petabyte netto usable. And there our cost is the $1 to $2 I was talking about. As fully self-healing, people are not involved. Basically, it just runs and it can recover itself. The Zero People is our system on top of it. This allows you to create workloads and make them self-healing. So you can basically do your full lifecycle management of apps so that they would like become bigger, smaller, roll out, recover themselves, stuff like that. And then the zero chain, we made our own blockchain technology. Actually, we have I have more than 25 people looking, but I think we have already about 10 or a little bit more said yes, which will move their blockchain workloads onto, I have a part of it or fully, onto our network, because we have resolved what we call the blockchain dilemma problem. Today in blockchain, or you go for scale, or you go for security, and it's very hard to combine both. That's why most blockchains need to rely on people deploying. As an example, I now in the meantime looked a lot into Telos, which I didn't know, and indeed I kind of like it. But there you see the way how they resolved it is by people who mean well, and they kind of made a human blockchain, if you want, for deploying that. In our system, that's not needed, as I will explain. So let me show you something about the architecture. Voila. So basically, what can you use it for? So you have this network of capacity. If you stay on the capacity layer, we are compatible with Docker, with S3, with Kubernetes. So it's very easy for someone to port your existing apps into the network. But it gets deployed in a very different way, and I'll explain it in the next slide. So it's rather different how it gets there. Now, our network is ideal for like blockchain as a service, we call it. So basically being a platform for other blockchains for the reasons I mentioned, for like Internet of Things, 5G workloads, high security workloads. We have a very specific way how things get deployed. It's incredibly secure. So especially for banks and governments, we can go much further than anything else. What we call beyond the blockchain. So how can you use blockchain tricks, basically, but it's not a classic blockchain you would know about, to be more efficient and how to build like large scale archives or storage solutions. And then we have phase 3, which is basically our decentralized apps, which is the tree bot. Okay, let me explain you how you deploy something. Now it becomes very concrete. And guys, please stop me if I go too fast because I will go really quick. At number 5, you see the capacity. That's the pool of capacity nodes, right? They are everywhere in the world, and every node who gets booted, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but there is Silicon Root of Trust, secure boot, lots of things have been done to make sure that the node can be booted in such a way that the person has no access to the node. So even a farmer, if it's a certified farmer, it means that the farmer cannot later on get into a node and have access to what runs in the node, even if it runs in their data center, right? We went very far to make that happen, especially with certified hardware vendors. That's one, that's the capacity. Now that capacity, that grid, these nodes, they all get registered in a blockchain database, which is our directory of capacity. So basically you can query, where is their capacity, in which countries, how can I use it, who are the farmers, where is it, that kind of stuff, right? That's our blockchain database where that gets stored. All the tree bots also get stored into another blockchain database so that the tree bots can find each other. So if one tree bot needs to talk to another tree bot, they will go to the phone book. So basically this blockchain database is like a phone book. They will look up where the other tree bot is, and that way they can communicate to each other. Make sense? Okay, how do you deploy something? The IT expert will put knowledge inside the tree bot. So the tree bot is your virtual system administrator and knows how to translate a high-level request to a very low-level description of what you need in the boxes. So a box, get the workload definition for a box is basically which files do you need to boot something, the subparts of the files, the hashes of the files, which processes to run, which networks to build. It's super low level. It's too low level for a human to deal with, okay? So that's why you need a tree bot, because a tree bot will make that translation. Will say, okay, you want this, I know how to build it, I know how to produce what we call an F list, which is a file list. It's basically a metadata description of the files. That workload, the definition of that workload, which is super low level, gets done in the blockchain database, okay? Then you need consensus between people, like some people now do with their blockchains. And then people say, yes, we've given the orders to bring live a blockchain or a CRM or whatever you want. They sign, multi-sign the workload definition, which is stored in the blockchain database. And now the capacity grid will pick it up. So every node by itself is listening to the blockchain database and we'll see, oh, am I still here? I think I'm losing it. No, I'm still here. They basically see, okay, there is something for me to do, but they only see the part which is intended for them. They will download that very low level description. They will then basically verify the signatures themselves against the blockchain database and against the phone book. So that way, every node by themselves will guarantee for themselves that consensus was reached, that only these files can be launched. Then basically the tree node will bring that workload live and will put onto the blockchain that it succeeded. So that's how basically you can how you can bring something live onto this network. Advantages, you can bring anything live on a global basis in absolute security because you have consensus between people. You have defined all the files before. So basically only the things you have worked out before can run on these boxes. So if, as an example, there would be a hacker in between, or even if a box would be, or if an application would be hacked, if they would change a file, the file would not run. The tree node would just see the file, say, okay, a part of the file supposed to be this hash. Nope, it's not this hash. It's not in the workload definition. I don't boot it, which means that basically you can be very strict in defining what can run in these boxes and whatnot. You have a question, Nick?
So you're guaranteeing like the file integrity of these things?
Yes,
right.
So you define everything in advance.
Okay.
The way how it runs, what you need, the processes, the complicated things, everything.
And is it this? Okay. Is that application that I deploy then distributed automatically in geographic areas, or is it just running on one box?
Oh, no. Your treebot does that for you. So you tell your treebot, so that happens in the layer before you deploy. So in the treebot, and you can even program your own treebot. So the treebot, we have what we call a threefold grid SDK, and that allows you to build your own knowledge for a treebot, like deciding where you deploy, how much it can cost, right? So you have really absolute control over everything. So which farmer do you trust? Where is the farmer? How will they communicate to each other? Which networking are we going to use? How do we go to the internet? I mean, everything. Okay. There is no limit to what you can control. But the treebot SDK, right? That one makes life easy for the average user, because the average user doesn't have that skill. So, but people who are more, I guess I cannot call that IT intelligent, but okay, I'm going to do it anyhow. They can literally go to the level that they can control everything. There are no limits, actually. HPE is working with us for 2 years. They have been testing the new version 2.0 for months now. And last week, Friday, they kind of gave a sign off. This is confidential, but it's going to go to senior man, or actually it's going to the CEO of HPE, that this becomes like a product inside their own stuff. Anyhow, that's where we are. Now, this is really important because, as an example, for blockchains, this resolves scalability problem, security problem. You can run blockchains in here where people have no access to the blockchain store data itself. You can literally do it in such a way that only the explorers would be visible. So you can be very creative in the way how you set it up, which means you can create hidden blockchains which people cannot see. You can do some pretty cool stuff. You can even virtualize your treebot. That's really cool. So you can create a treebot which does lifecycle management for apps which are not self-healing by themselves. And then you virtualize the treebot by itself, and you run the treebot as a virtualized workload on top of its network after consensus. So basically, your baby system administrator goes out on the net, lives fully autonomous, managing workloads around him or her. I don't know how you call such a treebot, to keep these workloads up and running. So you can kind of go far. Yeah, that's kind of how it works. So you have the different layers. The bottom layer, yeah, wait, let me show it here, it's easier. The bottom layer, you have the grid of capacity. So we invite farmers to put nodes. Each farmer gets, and that's also something pretty crazy. And if you are a farmer, you can make money multiple times. You make money because you host a box, and by hosting a box, you make what we call threefold tokens. And the model behind it is absolutely crazy, actually. It's really, really crazy how economic beneficial it is for a farmer. We had to stop accepting farmers a year ago. Now, in 1 month from now, our relaunch, because just like Euriki, actually our situation is so similar. Our token is live for 2 years. Our network is live for a while. But we want to relaunch this to start making noise, so that basically we can go out, give a big bang, when the Corona thing happened, we kind of thought, okay, everyone is slowing down, we're going to speed up, you know, we're going to tell the world that we are here and this needs to happen and that they need to come on the network. It's not really a launch because we are already launched. It's more like, how would we call it? An awareness event or something that we can go to the world and shout, we are here and you have to use us because of this reason. So we have a lot of these partners who put the boxes, the operating system is on top, and then you can see how people can put their blockchains on top of this, or, oh yeah, right, I was saying you can make money multiple times. So as a farmer, you make money by hosting your box. But if you run a blockchain and the blockchain has an earning model too, right? Then you make money twice because you make money by hosting workloads and you make money by the blockchain you're hosting on your own box, which is kind of like you're mining twice, right? So it's pretty crazy actually. And with someone like you guys, you probably can even do 3 times because you have the capacity you mine for, the pure low level blockchain, and then maybe there are even more high level ways how you can make money. Anyhow, that's a kind of cool system. Yeah, so, okay, last thing, I should show that as well. Storage, let me say the following, storage comes from space. It was an algorithm used in space communication. It's called forward-looking error correcting codes. It basically means that we can distribute storage in such a way that it's incredibly safe. You can lose data centers, nodes, anything, it will always be there. But the overhead will be a lot less. It's much faster. The overhead in our system to give you the ability to have 4 data center losses at the same time would only be 20%, to give you an idea, compared to another system where the overhead would be times 4. So which is of course a very big difference. There is another very big benefit of the storage system. It's kind of unhackable because you have to be, if we do 4 nodes lost and 20 nodes in total, then you would have to be in 16 locations at the same time, understand the encryption keys, understand where the data is, before you physically can reconstruct the data. So in other words, if you are a little bit careful in how you spread your data out, it's kind of impossible for a hacker to ever get your hands on it. Physically impossible, because simply, it's not even about encryption. It's simply the pieces of, there are just simply not enough pieces available for you to hack with. You would have to hack on at least 16 locations at the same time. So that's kind of how.
So the data is sort of like spread out across a kind of a number of boxes.
Yes.
With some built-in redundancy.
No, the decentralized, the distributed storage protocol does that for you. So right. That's the one way. So basically, low level, here you see the 3 levels. In the 3-node level, which is super low level, you can really buy your low level resources. Like, give me some piece of storage of this, give me that. So you're really low level, right? And it is these pieces of storage which are being aggregated on the higher level layer to become meaningful storage for you. And your Treebot has money. And the Treebot uses the money, the Treebot token, to buy the capacity it needs as it grows. Yeah.
Right.
And because it's in that storage mechanism, every Treebot does it for himself, which means that the Treebot cannot work alone. It needs your phone as well. So we have a decentralized authentication solution in the phone, which basically means that your Treebot alone cannot get started. So that it's safe and stateless. Treebot is stateless. The Treebot does not store data where the Treebot lives. Well, some caching, but that's it. Everything gets stored decentralized, distributed over these other nodes. So that gives you a very safe architecture because the data is not stored in a shared architecture like in a blockchain, which gives a lot of issues to do with scalability, GDPR, and stuff like that. In our system, every person has their own Treebot, and in that Treebot, you have all your own data, and you're the only guy having access to your data. So it's very, very different, right? Now, there is much more, Nick, because it goes like endless. But what I think for you guys important now is the first low-hanging fruit would be that maybe even if you guys are familiar with container technology, it is very easy to convert containers, Docker containers into what we have. Super easy. We made a converter for that. And then basically you can just run it whatever you want. And that would take us together an hour to get you to do that. So it's kind of rather easy. Yeah, so that's where we are. Also, Nick, because you haven't seen that, but maybe for the other people, I'll very quickly in 1 minute show you this thing. Demo 3-bot demo. So we already made apps on the layer on top. We call them experiences. This was done for a country. So it's still a little bit old school, where you see like email and contacts and office and stuff like that. But that was their use case. So that's why it's being done that way. The application we'll have in the future will be more based on circles, spheres, where all the circles interact with each other. Now with this one, by the way, talks legacy protocols as well. So your 3-bot talks SNTP, IMAP, WebDAV, CalDAV, CarDAV, all the nonsense old protocols, so that your notebook or your phone can talk old protocols, and they think that the 3-bot is a centralized server. But it isn't. The 3-bot is your server, but only your notebook will believe it's some centralized thing. That way, old apps will still work, like CalDAV as an example for your calendar, just to say something. And this is just the web interface we make to show that. So yeah, okay, you would see the standard stuff, mail and whatever, contacts, calendar, and so on. What's more interesting is we put a full-blown office on top of it. So if as an example, I open up this document, we took only Office, which is the most compatible Office suite, which has an open source and non-open source version as well. And basically we integrated that with the 3-bot so that you literally have your full-blown Office. It's very compatible with Office, but it only talks to your 3-bot. Do that for Office, PowerPoint, Excel, PDF, anything. So this is a full-blown file manager, which does all of that for you. We've demonstrated that the cost here for user is like a fraction. It's like nothing compared to existing IT infrastructures, and it all runs on top of the 3-bot. We also have a browser in a browser, which is basically a browser engine, which it runs the JavaScript remotely. So it runs it where your 3-bot is, and that way you have a much more safe browsing experience, because the browser kernel will not run, the runtime will not run where your browser is. It will run remotely. And that's why, if I do as an example, what is my IP? This is my IP. I don't know, it's Germany or because I have 2 3-bots, so I don't know which one I'm going to end up with. France again, yesterday was France too. So basically you can see that this 3-bot engine is running in France. It's not running where I am because I'm in Spain right now. This is very good for security, for also giving people always access to the 3-bot. This version is using some very highly optimized video codec, which has still some downsides. It works though for video and stuff like that. The new version, we are redrawing all the elements on the screen. So we took OpenGL, so which is the drawing system of Linux, and we rebuilt that inside the browser. Anyhow, that's only what nerds would do, but it gives you a safe thing to it gives you a safe way how to deal with your browser. We also have a Zoom alternative, but we don't have to talk about that, but it's a full-blown decentralized Zoom system, which we are bringing live first, actually, because I'm kind of getting scared that we will fall out of connectivity.
That's a good idea.
That's very fast where we are. So people can use our system at the 3 layers. Capacity layer, if they say we don't need the autonomous features, they can basically just use Docker, Kubernetes, S3, whatever, but use the capacity we have everywhere. They can use our autonomous layer. Then they can make a self-healing application, build their own whatever. Or in the future, but this we called H1 2020, you can even build decentralized apps directly on a 3-bot. But this is not something we have exposed yet to other people. But who knows, this is maybe even something we guys can talk about in the future to work together on or something. So yeah, that's it. Ricky, was that the kind of information you were looking for?
Yeah, that was a great overview. I wonder, actually, I want to pass over to Nick to see if he has any questions about anything from his level or lens that might be necessary to understand or that Max might need to know.
No, it makes sense. I already asked some questions. So as far, I mean, I don't know all the parts of the system, but it sounds good. I like the Zoom alternative too, because Zoom has a lot of problems right now with privacy and all kind of things. It's not really trustworthy. I was actually going to suggest our company to switch away from it.
In 2 weeks, the issue is Zoom did actually a very good job, unfortunately. Because our solution will be about the same quality than Google Hangout. It will be about that quality level. But Zoom managed to be better. And that's really unfortunate. But okay, at least we'll have something. And then towards the future, we can do what Zoom did. But Zoom did some really difficult things very well, actually. Anyhow, that's just the first apps we're going to have. The Zoom, yeah. By the way, atomic swaps, we talked about that yesterday. It's kind of funny, we are in the same path, but we also implemented a lot of atomic swaps for Bitcoin, for Ethereum. We made those, actually. Once you find on the internet, we made. And because atomic swaps are great, I love them, but they're very difficult for the normal persons to do. But if you have a tree bot, the tree bot can do that for you, which basically means that now you have a substrate on which you can do atomic swaps between whatever currency without centralization, which is kind of cool. So this is also something we did. So the first step is that it's basically a wallet in which we can put any currency. It's we're also soon going to have an alternative to like Facebook. It will be one app, like a collaboration app, which will be the combination of Facebook, LinkedIn, Slack, if you want, but more in a circular sphere way. So more in a more peer-to-peer way of thinking. In the browser we have already for more than a year, but we're also now going to hand it out so people can use this as well. What else is coming there in the next month? Yeah, it's pretty much it, I guess. Yeah, some Facebook, social media, of course, a social network, which we're still designing. We're designing a peer-to-peer social network thing, but we're still designing that one. Now, anyone can build things on top of this infrastructure, obviously, right? But Nick, I saw you nodding quite a lot of times, so I guess you kind
yeah,
of
I understand this stuff. I like it. It's really great. I mean, I've tried to design like a secure device before, and I know that hardware security is almost impossible. But you know, it's fine. You know, you just do whatever you can with it. I'm not too concerned because of you can't really control the manufacturing and things like that. So. Yeah. It's a very complicated topic that I don't think anybody has a really good answer.
By the way, because you seem to be really deep into this, we're working with, what is it, the Librem, whatever, I forgot the name, these guys designing these open chips.
I know them, the Librem laptops.
Yeah, they have laptops, but they also do some, if you want, some embedded devices, but they will never be as fast. So if we need ones in the future, a system which is 100% bulletproof, it can be done. But it would be 32-bit, but it can be done. Anyhow, but it could be good, like if it needs to be done for wallet storage or something, or certain things which are really, really like very, very secure, or front ends which we put into something else. And there is now a new group, I learned, they're trying to do something with RISC processors, which is still very fast, where also all the code would be completely open source. Yeah, but anyway,
that's cool. So I'm assuming your boxes, because you said they have secure boot, they have all of this kind of stuff, which is very important.
But it's any box. So we have do-it-yourself capacity, which means anyone who has a box can connect it, and then they go. We're not involved. It's fully decentralized. Capacity is just being added, right? But then it's not certified. Then it's basically someone who just, we do what we can to secure it, but then we cannot be 100%, because of course, we can do some smart boot, and we can make sure you cannot log into the system and things are encrypted. These kind of things we can do. But I mean, if you have access to the hardware, you could put something in the BIOS, you could try and get to the memory. Okay, it's not easy, but there are things you can do.
Yeah, but maybe you could have like, trust building up, some trust points or something like that.
Well, with certified capacity, that's what we do. So there, basically, we work with certified vendors. We work with certified also farmers. And then we have certification going on, a little bit like organic, if you want, where we check like, who is it? Is the person known?
Exactly.
Was the bias secured, right? Who has the key of the bias, stuff like that. So that we can look at the full chain, so we can guarantee with a certain probability, which is much better than anything else out there, that the farmer by himself cannot go on the node. But let's not forget, for storage, it doesn't even matter. Because storage, if we do the 20 parts thing, every farmer only has 1/16. So farmer can't do anything, right? There is nothing they can see.
And it's encrypted as well, right? Like the
And it's
storage.
encrypted as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, encryption is only encryption, of course, especially if you put it on a blockchain, then it still gives you some information. Good.
Well, when
And,
do you have
what
the?
about,
Sorry, go ahead, Nick. Go.
just one more question about like, how is the system resistant to censorship and just people turning off cables or things like that?
Yeah. So, well, it's these circles. So everything works with circles. These are the groups, if you want. And every tree bot is the center of their own circle. All the tree bots are registered on this blockchain database, which is distributed. All the public keys are in that blockchain. So basically, every tree bot by themselves can figure out where the other tree bot is, because the IP address of the tree bot, it's all IPv6. We do it in IPv6 substrate. Is also in the same blockchain. And because of that, all the tree bots can for themselves verify the start of the communication, where the information comes from, checking the signatures, but it's directly peer-to-peer. So you're not relying on a blockchain to store for you. You're only relying on the blockchain to find the other tree bot and to find the public key. And then once you have the public key of the tree bot and you know where it is, it's tree bot to tree bot. And then you can really verify everything. So there is actually no key exchange, which means that a government or so has no starting point, right? There is nothing to start from. You cannot do man in the middle. It simply wouldn't work, because it's not like in SSL where you identify.
Yeah, and you cut out the whole DNS system as well, which is great.
Yes,
the DNS system is it can't be made secure, I don't think.
Yeah. Well, we still have certain centralized components in there today, like the directory server as an example. It's already on the BCDB, but this is one of the things we need to do now is over the next couple of months is get much more capacity out there and make sure that these blockchains we're talking about, the only points which need to be distributed, that they are distributed enough so that if you cut off a country, that you still can continue, right? Otherwise, it kind of doesn't make sense. Yeah, that's kind of where we are. But yeah, we also have peer-to-peer communication, by the way. So we one of our friends does 4+G technology. We hate 5G. We're trying to tell countries don't go there because 5G is incredibly bad and it's definitely designed with a specific purpose in mind, which is not the one we want. So 4+G is more than enough. This guy does MIMO on 4G, and you can make super fast connections which go really from the base station with multiple routes to each mobile. And it's more than fast enough. He can do more than 50,000 concurrent corrections on one base station, which is way more than anyone else. So we work together with him, and we can put our capacity on his base stations. And that way you can make a grid of base stations, which all do peer-to-peer point links to each other. That's like in a more massive deployment. But we can also do in a Soho deployment, where we literally use these small peer-to-peer, small point-to-point link devices. They cost like $200 per point. And basically people can just put some capacity on their roof and they link to another box or to a couple of other boxes, and you build a mesh
network, okay,
between all of these boxes. So this was designed for emerging markets. Like as an example, one of the projects we are working on, we didn't get the grant yet, but it's submitted, is for 100,000 farmers along the Nile. And there they really live in rather dense areas, but they have nothing. There are not even enough base stations. So there we were thinking about doing this peer-to-peer. So that per whatever a kilometer, you have a point, and then you link to the next kilometer and you build out your grid. But now it looks like maybe it's a good idea we do this in non-emerging countries as well, so they cannot block us out, right?
It's great.
Beautiful. My question was about, well, first of all, great. I love that you guys are foregoing 5G, because I also fully aligned that it's right now. But how do we line up in terms of the launching, the announcement? Do you guys have a set date for launching this?
Well, it's not set publicly yet. But we were thinking end of April, so in 1 month from now. And the idea was to really do a big it will be something rolling. So it's not like one thing forget, but more like going to the world. Like yesterday, quickly after our call, I was so excited. I quickly bought a domain name, something like Planet First Launch. I just bought it, whatever. But something that we can tell to the world, so, look, we're doing something for the planet. We're doing something for the planet here, you know? This is not just about some crypto company trying to be rich.
About the regenerative renaissance.
Exactly. As an example, one of our friends...
The commoners won't know. I said, don't get too poetic, that'll be too far out for them.
Yeah. Like one of our friends is doing a virtual reality museum, 1 million museum pieces. On our grid, it's kind of a nice message. It's a very aware person. He wants to do it for free, stuff like that, right? So there are a couple of really nice projects which are kind of visible. And then why not these projects together sort of go out with the message like, look, here we are for the world, right? Not for us. Yes, that we get a benefit as a consequence of what we're doing for the world. That's great. But it starts in the first place helping the world. And that needs to be, that's why I call it Planet First Launch. And if we do that with X number of companies, which all under right, that very simple value proposition, you know, it's as simple as Planet First. And for the rest, everyone does their own things in very small amount of values. It doesn't have to be overcomplicated. But that people then find a point and say, oh, wait a minute, there are these guys doing a new currency for giving a new peer-to-peer economy. That's how I call it next, but okay. And then some other guys do this virtual reality museum, and then other guys have some VR meeting place, and right, and we build this internet. 6, 7, 8, 9 projects, which would give each other a lot of credibility. And the only thing they speak out together is Planet First, actually. It's like, we do this for the planet because the planet needs it. And I think it would give a lot of positive momentum. We can make something viral, and then we can try and help each other. So as an example, in our wallet, we can put your tokens, right? We can tell to our community, why don't you use this token for doing your, because we're going to have an e-commerce kind of thing in there as well. Soon you have that too, or maybe use yours. I don't know. At the end, I don't care whose it is, actually. The only thing I want is that people see that this needs to happen and they start moving now, right? That's what we need.
So we kind of need to start coordinating resources. So we have a couple marketing agencies we're working with. One of them is actually decentralized agency themselves. They're awesome. They're like ex-Madison Avenue guys. In fact, one of them was the guy that came up with the MasterCard slogan, like for everything else there's MasterCard, you know, that whole, I forget how it goes, but I think you all get it. No, it's like, oh, go to a ball game, $1.50, get a, and it doesn't matter. Long story short, we have that team we've been putting together for a while, and it is aligning around this idea that there's an alliance, there's a movement forming, and we're talking about the whole momentum of this alliance. So we can weave this narrative into that to talk about the whole, you know, new puzzle that we have already put together. Because that's kind of the big meta narrative that we're telling right now, is that this new world isn't only coming in the future, it's already here. It's just not fully, you know, the new world is already here, it's just not distributed yet, or whatever the word I want to use there. Yeah, it's not fully spread.
It's not being made available yet, right?
Yeah,
I like the alliance. I like the alliance word. Yeah, I think that's a buzz at the moment too, and we can talk about a new alliance.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we can align our PR. I don't know where your guys' resources, or if you're working with any agencies or anything, but it'd be really good to bring them into the same roof. So we're aligning this marketing and then put something together that we're announcing it at the end of April. I really like that. So you can start ideating this month. And then I'll start adding this, because what I was going to put together already and planning on it is like an hour and a half long, basically, of talking about all the different puzzle pieces, how they're already here. So it's kind of like our own long form documentary, but the real point of it is just talking about all the solutions all at once. So as everyone's sitting at home, because right now is the time to actually get all this information out there, because everyone's ready to digest it, seeing the problems, and like wanting something else to step into. So right now is really the time to start running with that, I think. So yeah, my question is, what type of resources do you already have? Do you have some front-facing, you know, media articles? Do you have a team?
Yeah, we have a quite large team, actually. We have two teams even. We're working on the 2 levels. So Shane has an organization which is more working on the peer-to-peer person kind of thing. We will also launch it separately. We're still looking for a name, and lots of things need to happen. but I think we have to be done within the month. So this is really about, we give your digital life back. And then threefold is about the new internet, right? So they are disconnected from each other, because I think that makes more sense. For threefold, that's the new internet. Sorry. For threefold, we have a team of about 7 or something, internally 6, and then, but externally not that much yet. So for sure, we would like to know who use it. If they are good, yeah, why not? We can work with them for sure as well.
That's just for marketing. So you have 6 or 7 dedicated for marketing and outreach. Oh, great. Yeah, we would love to have one of them then as point, so that it could be a bridge. Say again?
Like everything. They do everything customer facing. You know, it's more than just marketing.
Yeah, cool. Is there one of them in particular that would be like the lead that we can bring into our conversation so we can make sure there's a bridge about communications?
He's a very good guy, Max. Yes, sure. He's Switzerland.
Do you know Max? Did you meet
Maximilian?
Did you meet Max in Davos, mate?
Was he at the blog base?
Yeah, he's a really soft guy, really like chill, wears his baggy pants. But he's a smart guy. He's done lots of work with Audi and other companies like that. He's based in Zurich.
Yeah, that would be actually convenient. I'm in Liechtenstein away, so it's also a train ride away. We could actually even consolidate some work.
He's a really, really good dude, really smart. So, yeah.
Okay, so this makes a lot of sense for us to kind of merge forces anyway, because we're telling the same story. Mm-hmm. Hey, there's a new paradigm. We've got the pieces. Come join us. It's the same story that we need to tell. So I think we can kind of align around that and make sure we're making the most use of all of our, focus.
Just to throw something in there, we can discuss further later. We're also launching a clean energy and water technology company with Jeremy Pfeiffer, who's one of the world's leading water scientists. Franz, you may have met him at Davos also. That's called Kairos. And we're doing things with magnetic resonance, water remediation and other things. So that's also another piece of the overall puzzle, which could be interesting as well.
Absolutely.
Guys, I just have another domain name, Alliance for Planet, just that you know.
let's just make up stories that we're part of the cabal. We're the cabal offshoot, right? With the white hats and the cabal offshoot, and we'll just say that's who we are. Now you can see us.
Alliance is definitely a good name here. Yeah.
I like also the term Renaissance, and I think it's timely too, because the Italian Renaissance followed the Black Plague, and now we've got this other kind of like, whether or not it's fucking real, it's still the same concept as a global crisis.
The concept, it's a good story, yeah.
Yeah, it's something to play with. Like, hey, we can have a paradigm shift taking place here, and it's way different from a revolution. I hate revolution because it's just revolving. It's the same shit, different power structure. Now the peasants are in control and they're the new king.
It's true.
We want to steer clear of the revolution and move towards the Renaissance.
Yeah, mushrooms in these what do they call this? Injections.
Oh yeah, direct. No, you gotta go straight into the temple, man.
So, Max, I put them in the group so you guys can communicate.
Cool. Yeah, we'll set up with him. We'll bring him into our branding call and discussion that we're having with our team coming up. So that'll be really good.
You guys reach out, because I don't want to. You know them. Can any of you reach out to tell us and ask them if they would be interested to go on our grid? Because I think for them it would make a lot of sense to take them with us on our grid.
I'd love that. I'm actually, if you guys don't mind, I could share this with Douglas, which is a good idea. Yeah, I could share this with the guy who set it up, or was one of the leads setting it up. So we could share this recording with him and get his feedback and bring him in. Yeah, that could be really powerful.
If you guys think it's a good idea, if you still want.
Well, I mean, we're built on Tulus, and they're not decentralized. So they're running on Amazon Web and services. But I know they're building dStore, but I don't know if that's complementary, if they're separate. I don't know the architecture.
Either way, they can move to this new internet. It sounds like a great idea for them.
Yeah, I think so. And
it's in line with them and everything.
I would not put them as part of the main message because it's probably too crypto, I guess. But it's one of these supporting partners which have the benefit of what we do and support this ID and whatever.
I agree.
But maybe yes, maybe no, you guys can choose. But as an example, we have quite some other blockchain projects, but I will not put them in the doing good kind of message either. This is more to me, for you, it's different because you have different types of projects. But for us, it's like if one another blockchain guy wants to come on our grid, but maybe they're just very old school, right? This is just some underwriting of the capabilities of threefold, but not necessarily for what we do for the planet. So I want to keep these things.
I mean, the reason we run on Telos is also because they're really aligned. So I think, you know, they really want to do something good for the planet. And
they are
really, really great guys.
Yeah.
Well, I looked at their website and I found their pictures yesterday, and I played around with it. It didn't work that easy for me, but it's maybe to do with me.
Okay, cool. The second part is like financial tools. I know you were talking about that before. So actually, Nick, how does it work right now with our contract? Because it's basically happening on Igor's server, so it's not fully decentralized in that respect, right? Or how does that look? Are we doing an atomic
Which
swap?
contract? Is it the, oh no, we're not an atomic, we're not a decentralized. So actually, so here's the thing. The piece of server code that runs on Igor's server is actually only just watching the blockchains. It's only watching Bitcoin blockchain and it's watching EOS blockchain. And when it sees certain things happening there, it calls our contract and releases the seeds. So that means we can run this piece of software anywhere. We can run it in multiple places. So we can actually decentralize it very easily because it's only listening to the blockchain, and we prevent multiple transactions already by, you know, using the transaction hash. So if we had 5 of those servers up running around the world, it would be fine. It would work just the same.
We do similar things with bots. Just we need to do these oracles, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like, it's a bit like oracles. So we just have this code that's watching the blockchain, and if something happens there, it notifies our contract.
Yeah.
So we could very easily, and also that's because that contract needs to be very secure. So I was thinking, that software needs to be very secure. So I was thinking we could actually completely isolate it. It only reads the blockchain and it only calls our contract, and nobody can actually access it. So that'd be perfect. So yeah, we can run this on other places too, is what I'm saying now.
Good, but I think what I want to do, guys, because our month is so crazy, because we're trying to get everything ready before the end of April, is that we do all the announcements. Even if you guys want to sign something, you sign something, I don't care. But more about that we can announce it, and then after that we have time to do all the work, you know, because this month is going to be insane to have all the bits and pieces ready.
Right.
Also, Nick, we're bringing gold live as well. So we have a friend in Denmark. They have gold. It's a gold supplier, physical gold.
Wow.
We will do a gram of gold. And the reason we do that, it's a fantastic onboarding and offboarding mechanism. But they also do debit cards behind it. So basically in our wallet, you will be able to keep gold, and from gold go to debit card, and then you can spend it. And what this gives us, I hate these exchanges. And I'm trying to get around these exchanges. Well, through gold you can, because then people can just buy gold, right? Which is legal everywhere. And the moment they have gold, they are on the blockchain. And the moment they are on the blockchain, we can do whatever we want, and we can get them in any other currency. So it's a pretty good mechanism to get people who don't want to go over an exchange to still in our system.
When you guys say wallet, do you guys have a mobile wallet, or do you guys want to talk about integration?
Well, we run on Stellar. At the end, we had our own stuff before. It was called Refine, but now we run on Stellar, so it makes it very easy. So basically, we just it's not much on our app. There is a wallet for all these Stellar things, but of course, we can easily integrate stuff with you guys as well. This is one of the things. If we launch, I need to push my guys as well, because in the same wallet, it would be great. They can see you guys as well. And then we can use maybe the smart contract, and again, we can do the exchange later, but then we can use atomic swaps to allow people to exchange between your blockchain and.
I have two, maybe we could give this to Nick, but I also want to give this to Max. But Nick, you worked with Stellar quite a bit. You're working with EOS.io now, Telos more specifically. Maybe you could speak from your point of view on the difference between those two, and kind of, you know, if it was up to you, which one you'd go with.
Well, Telos is better, of course. I was going to say, why don't you guys use Telos? But you know, if you've already built everything on Stellar, then Stellar it's okay. It's just it has some annoyances with creating new accounts. It costs money. Transactions also cost money, I think. It's very little, but it still costs some. So you need to acquire the lumens to even do anything. That was the main problem we had. But you have some of the same issues in Telos as well. But at least we get free accounts and we have free transactions.
Yeah, but the transaction, we took it because it was so easy. It's literally in 2 months, we have been able to do everything from going our old blockchain to the new one. And,
Right.
And I
It's
didn't know
fast too.
I didn't know that Telos existed. If I would have,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking if you use Stellar, you might as well use Telos. It would probably be a tiny bit better. But if you have already built everything on Stellar, then and you have other stuff to do, then it might not make sense to switch.
Well, I mean, it might make sense to switch argument is that you would be fully compatible with us. We've got our Hypha DAO, so we've got a toolkit for decentralizing organizations, which is pretty powerful.
You are anyhow because we talked atomic swaps, right?
And
so
we could do that, and that was something we're wanting to do anyway, so we can start being compatible with other ones. So I guess we can make it work.
Look, we're not married. We're not married to anything. If there would be very compelling reasons for us to switch. Now, actually, there is a good one for Stellar right now. I think with a little bit of luck, we will get these guys to do some good publicity for us. And they have quite some reach because they are in the top 10%, right? Yeah. And that's kind of super easy because it means that this full money ecosystem around Stellar, that's the biggest reason we did it, actually. It's not a technical one. It was that this full ecosystem in Stellar is growing very rapidly because they are in the top 10. It's really growing very rapidly and it's super cheap. So they're really becoming this payment gateway, if you want, because it's all based on credit and they're saying these trust lines. So it's actually becoming like Swift, like digital Swift. And yeah, that suits my purpose well, because that way it's super easy to go from.
How did you find the community there at Stellar, Nick? Is that someone we should continue to align with? Because I mean, it is about integration, collaboration, and going together. So we can.
Yeah, but they're nice guys, just like
partnerships with Stellar
guys. Yeah, they're very nice guys.
Yeah.
They were very. I know it took us a while to find them because they're completely rather peer-to-peer, and it's very hard to get to them. They do it by purpose. But eventually, once we got to them, it was kind of all fine. And good people. They really mean very well. Huh? The ones we've talked to, at least, they meant well.
They have good intentions. Yeah, they're coming more from the banking sector, I guess. Which has advantages and disadvantages, but absolutely. They're good. Yeah.
But they've built Swift. They've built a digital Swift. I mean, that's really what interbanking thing, which in a way makes it easy because that if you have an asset, you can even, like in your case, build. It's very easy to build a bridge in Stellar. You can have, because at the end you can be credit line to stuff in Stellar, and then you can benefit from all the payments already happening in Stellar, and because you're just a credit line to it. That's how.
Yeah, I mean, the main advantage I would see is like you said, they are big and you can get them almost anywhere and sell them and buy them, and there's good liquidity and stuff. So Telos has some liquidity issues, but it's much nicer to, for the smart contract side and all these things, for sure. Much better in Telos.
But there we have the tree bot, because we do all of that in the tree bots. If once you have every person has their own tree bot, there you do all of that stuff in the tree bot. Then you don't have to do that in a smart contract, which makes it safer and faster. So we didn't have that requirement.
Right.
We only need a blockchain for storing stuff. Like, you need consensus, like money, or you need to track something that it cannot be changed over time. But yeah, these are simple things to do in a blockchain, right? You make a hash and put it somewhere. So that we need a blockchain. And yes, there are certain use cases which I do agree with. Like if you would have something like a multi-person escrow account or something, they're typically like EOS would be much better because that you cannot do, that's harder to do. Anyway.
Yeah, good. So that's more of the complex stuff we're doing. So I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't have to do everything on Stellar. You can do some of the stuff over on the Hypha DAO and what we're doing. But anyway. Because that's...
Sure. I think look, Rieke, what will happen, I think we all have the same intentions. We don't want to read, there's simply no purpose. So as we get to know each other better, automatically we can put things at the other side, you know? I mean, why not? It just makes sense. And then we will have to come up with the right ways how to integrate. Who knows? Maybe in 6 months we say, damn, it should have been Talos. Let's move it again.
Well, I mean, the main problem with switching between tokens between blockchains is having a system of oracles, and it seems like that threefold system would be great to. This would be great for oracles, like to have all these independent oracles running around and being very secure and all agreeing and finding consensus on prices and things like that. And then switching between the blockchains is easy once you have oracles.
Yeah, well, we did that every three bot by themselves, but then on the phone, and then we use atomic swaps. That's how we did it. So we used an atomic swap to basically get two ends matching, and then only when everything was fine, it kind of happens. And that's a very safe way how to do it. It was a little bit cumbersome, but it works well. But good, let's not lose ourselves in the technical details, because then we can be busy for 2 hours or something.
Cool. So I kind of want to sum up for us and give us some just next tasks. So I think the focus for you guys this month, and mostly for us, is this marketing. Start getting the word out there. So we'll follow up with Max and connect with him and get that flow going. Second, I want to actually have, and it doesn't have to be this month, I'm just planting the seed for these next steps, is a token economic alignment. So how your token flows, as our works, and a way of communicating that message to the audience so that they know, okay, I'm coming in with money, I put some here, there, I know what I'm doing. Right. So we can make that very clear. The next one is decentralized governance. I mean, this is a huge thing for us. We find this is really important. So there is power to the people, there's flows for them to do that, and they're understanding that. So I don't know if that's something you guys are wanting to do, like decentralize your organization itself and make that all open, transparent. We have a toolkit for it. We can dive into a separate conversation on that.
Yes, let's also do it after the launch, but the answer is yes. We created a foundation for that. At one point in time, we want to have guardians for the code management, guardians for some other things. We call them guardians, but we didn't do anything around that yet. Well, yeah, we thought about it and wrote it down, parts of it, but that's where it stopped and created some structure.
Okay, yeah. That's just that's one of our main focuses has been on governance. So we've got a lot going on there. And then the financial tools, I do want to dive in with you more there on it sounded like you were talking about bonding curves and different techniques like that. That'd be something I'd like to align with on how we're doing the token distributions.
Guys, I'm just going to quickly jump off because I had a call 15 minutes ago, so I pushed it back a quarter past.
See you, Shane.
See you, brother.
See you guys.
Good chat.